Hello and welcome to the next Thematic List Build. On the previous installment I covered the Blood Angels. This time around the focus will be on their savage, bloodthirsty successors. So let's dive into a thematic list build for the Flesh Terrors. For those new, the goal of the Thematic List Build series is to create a 2K Strike Force sized list, based around a theme central to the focused faction. And with that stated, let's take a look at the sub-faction rules. The Flesh Terrors chapter tactic, Fury Within, remains the same as it was in its previous iteration, presented in the Blood of Baal Psychic Awakening supplement. The first part of their trait follows that of the Blood Angels, granting units which charge, were charged, or heroically intervene +1 to wound with melee weapons. And in place of the Blood Angels +1 to advance and charge rolls, the Flesh Terrors gain an additional point of AP with melee weapons on natural wound rolls of 6. And as successors of the Blood Angels, their doctrine bonus is Savage Echoes, and functions in the same manner, granting units that charge, were charged, or intervene while in the Assault Doctrine an additional attack. Altogether, like with the Blood Angels, the Flesh Terrors are without a doubt melee specialists. And while I would posit that it is worse to trade a flat bonus to advance and charge rolls for the chance of bonus AP, I would like to point out that such a rule does create fun moments for melee weapons to bite down, allowing the Flesh Terrors' chainswords to rend like their power weapons. Regarding the thematic objectives, the first goal is to flex chainsword type weapons. In my mind, chain weapons, the weapons that grind through their enemies, are the thematic weapons of the chapter. It epitomizes the savage reputation of the Flesh Terrors, it's evocative of their chapter badge, and they generally seem to be quite fond of such weapons. The other thematic objective of the list is more out of the box than usual. Specifically, it'll speak to Gabriel Seth's stance on Primaris Marines. For those unfamiliar, he didn't quite like their arrival, and was somewhat forced to accept them because they were presented by Gilliman, to replenish their depleting ranks. And as a result, our boy Gab bitterly subjected the Primaris Marines to brutal trials, thrusting them into the fiercest of battles to prove themselves. So that's what we're gonna do. Now, let's go over to the list breakdown. The list is organized into a battalion, and I suppose we may as well start with these new warriors that Gabriel Seth was so reluctant to accept. Filling out the troop slots are 3 squads of Encursors. Each group is 5 men strong. Their bolt guns ignore hit and ballistic skill penalties, as well as deny enemies the benefits of cover. And their paired combat knives, which already have -1 AP, can actually do some good work considering the amount of attacks with the +1 to wound and potential AP bonus provided by their chapter tactic. Following that up are 3 Invictor warsuits, all taken with twin Iron Hail autocannons. The warsuit's primary ranged weapons are well suited for elite infantry, and the Iron Hail autocannon can be quite effective versus light vehicles as well. And in melee combat, the Invictor Fist outputs similarly to a Dreadnought combat weapon, which has a profile that is really complemented by Fury Within, allowing the Invictors to tackle higher toughness targets in the fight phase with ease. And those are the Primaris units of the list. You may have noticed something. Everything here forward deploys. So you too can shave your head, get real angry, and throw these Primaris Marines right at the enemy's doorstep. Or feel free to use them to support the units yet to be covered. So with the fodder out of the way, let's move on to the list. Starting with Gabriel Seth, who will be our warlord. He is the chapter master of the Flesh Terrors, and is kitted out to perform well in combat, with the capacity to wound nearly everything with ease. He has 6 attacks on the charge, hits on 2s, and will wound anything less than toughness 8 on 2s, with AP 2 dealing flat 3 damage. And if that weren't enough, he can fight again at the end of the fight phase if enemies still remain. And he has an aura to give core units nearby an additional point of damage on wound rolls of 6, stacking nicely with Fury Within. And lastly, his warlord trait Merciless Butcher can provide bonus attacks if he is surrounded by multiple models. Serving as Seth's right-hand man is a lieutenant, obviously not of the Primaris type. He has a jump pack, chainsword, and combi weapon for points reasons. I've gone with combi grav. He is glorious and will be an exemplary Flesh Terror. To enable this, 1 command point has been spent on Hero of the Chapter to give him the Flesh Terror's warlord trait of Wrath and Rage, and he has been given the relic, the Teeth of Terra. As you can see, our Flesh Terror's lieutenant is quite a combat monster. Filling out the fast attack slots are 3 assault squads. Why assault squads over Death Company Marines? Well, that is because assault squads can take the beefiest of chain weapons, the Glorious Eviscerator. Each squad is 5 men strong and loaded out identically. The sergeants have the eviscerators, and there are 2 marines with meltaguns, leaving 2 marines with bolt pistols and chainswords. It felt suitable to give the sergeants the honor of wielding the eviscerator, which works out well since they have more attacks. It results with 3 attacks on the charge, hitting on 4s since eviscerators are unwieldy. At strength 7, with the +1 to wound, means even the typical toughness 7 vehicles will be wounded on 3s, with AP 4 dealing 2 damage. If an assault squad arrives from reserves, consider the Descent of Angel stratagem, which will give them +1 to their hit rolls. Great for offsetting the unwieldiness of eviscerators and letting those meltaguns hit on 2s, along with potentially making any charge rolls easier. Serving as Gabriel Seth's honor guard are a squad of Vanguard veterans, taken without jump packs, equipped with chainswords and storm shields. It is a bit of an unorthodox loadout for the Vanguard veterans, but chainswords are the savage weapons I would like to flex, and with chainswords, this group functions as a relatively cheap phalanx for Gabriel Seth. And since they are the honor guard, 1 command point has been spent on the Angel Ascendant to give this honored sergeant a master-crafted chainsword. Collectively, the squad can dish out a boatload of attacks. And while chainswords don't seem too problematic, keep in mind those chainswords are wielded by Blood Angel successors, who have a +1 to wound, and as flesh tearers, those chainswords can strike with a surprising amount of rend. Serving as a delivery mechanism for our chapter master and his honor guard is a drop pod, which will allow them to arrive in turns 1, 2, or 3. And providing some high mobility fire support are 2 Storm Talon gunships, each sporting a twin assault cannon and 2 last cannons. And that's the list. It comes to 2,000 points, and after spending 2 command points on the extra warlord trait and the mastercrafted chainsword, it provides a total of 10 command points. It's incredibly aggressive, with nearly everything but the jump pack units capable of charging the opponent's lines in turn 1. And while ordinarily flyers are often the victims of first turn target priority, the threat saturation caused by the 3 Invictor warsuits should help alleviate that issue. So in review, for anti-tank shooting options, we have the Storm Talon gunship's last cannons, and the assault squad's 6 meltaguns. For melee, we have 3 Invictor fists, Gabriel Seth, and the assault squad's eviscerators. Honorable mention to the assault squads, which can make use of the Melt-A-Bomb stratagem as well. For elite infantry and light vehicle shooting options, we have the 3 Invictors Twin Iron Hail autocannons, and for melee, the 2 HQs and Vanguard Sergeant have tools suited for the purpose. And for the task of light infantry are the 2 twin assault cannons on the Storm Talon gunships, as well as the chainswords in the Vanguard veteran and assault squads, the Incursor's combat knives, and their bolt gun fire as well. That's a wrap on this one. Thanks for watching. This thematic list build was actually quite fun to put together. If you have any questions, comments, or requests, please feel free to drop them down below. And if you are a Flesh Terrors player, I would be curious to know how you are feeling with the current 9th edition codex and supplement. So, if you enjoyed this video, there is a like button. And if you want to help my channel grow, there is a subscribe button. There is also a bell button and a share button, so press the buttons you want to press. Thanks again for watching, and I will hope to see you guys in the next one.